Grand Rising at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven. Hey, baby. 7 twice. Yo, 7 twice. Which is the year that the man of the hour was born, by the way. And they know what the fuck they're talking about. These ones. Oh my God. Anyways. So for like 2 weeks, I had Tourette's come up in my algorithm, and I could not figure out why until I realized that one of my family members has undiagnosed Tourette's, right? Clear as day. Like, oh my God. And I have these little synchronicities happen to me in regards to health. So we are going to address someone who has made a comment to explain their behavior. I'm going to say it out loud because more people need to hear this. And this is what I said to her, but I feel like it is going to resonate for a great, vast majority of the community. Okay, so today, which was yesterday, December 15th, today, out of the blue, I had a stranger tell me they were gaslighted all of their life into believing they were on the spectrum, to the point they behaved as such and were even told never to question it. It wasn't until they went to college that they realized it wasn't true. As I read that, I was brought to my own personal experience with a childhood friend and her parent. I can clearly see that she was gaslighted and infantilized by her mother, and she also used her place on the spectrum to excuse and validate any abnormalities or inconsistencies in her behavior. Another thing about this situation was that her mother told me that one of her children has autism, but she hasn't told her, and she regrets telling the other one, is what she told me. And I was like, interesting, right? And that person she would literally one time we went out and she wore a bathing suit because we were legitimately going to go to the pool or somewhere with water. And she wore a bathing suit with a clear cover up. And she literally said it's because she has Asperger's. And I'm like, but we're actually going to the pool. You don't have to explain to people why you're in public in a bathing suit. It's not attributed to that. And I'm going to read the comment from the person too, because I think that holds the weight too. So I don't know your history with the diagnosis, but if it's been a really long time since you were assessed, or you have been saying it as long as you can remember and don't remember being assessed, I'd suggest you looking into that again. I've stated covert emotional abuse causes the mental illness spectrum, which includes Munchausen's by proxy. It's the act of claiming a child is ill when they aren't to gain attention or sympathy. Autism is a really simple illness to place on a child. You basically take anything you don't like or find weird about their personality and attribute it to being on the spectrum. The child then uses this to explain their behavior when it's really just their natural quirks. And sometimes it's not even a quirk. It's just normal shit that, like I said, like she said it was Asperger's why she was wearing a bathing suit in public. Like, it's very easy because the parent doesn't have to make the child physically ill. Like, the flip side to this is people who feed their kids poison to fake cancer. Gaslighting a child into thinking that they have autism is light compared to that. They then go on to tell a child they won't explain certain things because they won't get it. They gripe and complain about the child and their illness, etc., leaving the child in a constant apologetic state. And this also caps the child's intelligence and furthermore keeps them from following their intuition, because this is toxic guilt. And this affects the sacral chakra. And this is one of those wounds. You cannot function from the crown in guilt. So remember in the You Are Like a Tree video, I said there are some wounds from the sacral chakra that will also keep you from being able to use the crown. But typically you can use your crown with the sacral. It just depends on the wound. Guilt is not one of those. You cannot do it. So there are doctors who will provide documentation, whether it's true or not as well. So even if you have the documents, I would question it. But you know your situation. I'm not accusing you of lying or anything, because even if my suspicion is true, it would never be your fault. But I don't get these kinds of coincidences for no reason. And that's facts. They literally, and what it is spirit guides, ancestors, angels, they hand me ammo. So if you are doing something to me, they will make light of what's wrong with you. It's happened to me several times. I see it clear as day. They will hand me, boop, just falls out the sky. I haven't even, the thread that this was on, nothing's been going on that thread for at least a month. And then just all of a sudden, here comes this person to tell me their story. And so now I'm going to tell you their story. This was under a video about a woman who was poisoning her child, giving her child high volumes of sodium. And, you know, I went in there and did my thing because that's what I'm here to do. But they said, I'm a survivor of a particular strange case of Munchausen by proxy. My birth giver didn't force me to pretend having a physical illness, but rather having Asperger's syndrome. She freely admitted with no remorse that she harassed and screamed at doctors until they gave me a diagnosis that I didn't have, which led to lifelong discrimination and abuse for a condition I didn't even have. I was so terrified of anyone finding out the truth because she conditioned me to such a degree that whenever I met anyone, I just blurted out that I was Asperger's and practically begged them not to question it, which is exactly what she did to me. I've never had any symptoms of Asperger's, nor do I remember being assessed for it. I was just told that I had it and that I should never question it. She also said that if I told anyone I didn't have Asperger's, then social services, which she framed as evil incarnate, would take me away and it would ruin everyone's lives and that I'd be responsible. The amount of times I just broke down into crying fits because I couldn't handle what was happening were honestly countless. Luckily, my university pretty much saved my life, and I've now cut that bitch out of my life. Plus, the police know what she's done as well. Yeah, it is an atypical case. This kind of thing, but it still fits the category, I think. Absolutely. And like I said, I have a personal relationship with someone who experienced this. I know that she did because it's literally it's word for word what I witnessed of that child, you know, and that was my childhood friend. And her mother, you know, I went on to respond to them. I guess I can read my response because it all fits, you know what I'm saying? It all goes together. Hold on a second. Yo, I'm sorry for your experience. I grew up with someone with a very similar experience. Her mother claimed that 2 of her children had Asperger's and that one was aware and the other was not. And the one that was acted just as you did and attributed literally everything she did to it and to appease her mother. She also had a child. Her mother had a child that was extremely MRDD, so she created a foundation for his condition and even managed to acquire one of the only 2 handicap accessible playgrounds in the country at that time. She was found to be embezzling from the foundation. I don't know where these children ended up, but now that I know what I know, I would highly suggest that you educate yourself on covert emotional incest. These mental illnesses stem from a parent emotionally violating their children in this way. And so your family dynamic likely was passed down by her own caregivers. I'm so glad that you made it out and you are doing better, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Does that mean that there are not people on the autism spectrum? No, it doesn't mean that. However, the autism spectrum is created. If your parent has experienced extreme abuse while pregnant with you, you are more likely to have autism. because the brain is functioning and forming around all of the gaslighting happening right within earshot of your developing brain. So as you come out, you are actually programmed from the womb to have all of these weird quirks surrounding certain things. So like I know a child who has, I believe he is on the spectrum, but I do believe that it could be fixed. He is very particular about rules, and based on what I know about his mother and what she experienced with her partner, it would make sense that he came out with that already programmed in him. I can't put it in words. I'm watching it. Okay. She explains how she was treated. And then you hear the child, and the child is like a carbon copy of that. He's 6. There's autism, I believe, has everything to do with the amount and what type of abuse that you experience, your parent experienced while you were in the womb. Because then what they are hearing, remember, babies can hear in the womb, and their brain is developing simultaneously to that. So it creates those pathways. Oh, my dad doesn't like that, so I'm going to make sure I don't do that. My dad doesn't like this, I'm not going to do that. My mom doesn't like this, because, mothers can be abusers as well. This is why it's something that is something from the womb, okay? But it does not mean that it's not something that can be resolved. And also, if you were raised in that environment, then it would just further solidify those quirks. But it's not, I don't think it's a genetic disorder. I don't think it has anything to do with shots, vaccinations. I don't think it has anything to do with that. But that's just based off what I've been observing. And then you've got the other part of the spectrum of people who've just been gaslighted into thinking that their normal behavior, it is normal to be blunt. There are some signs that are blunt. You know what I'm saying? It is not attributed to a spectrum, except for the one that a parent created. So I just wanted to, I totally went tangent on my original plans for breaking down the mental health disorders, because they're all there. You know what I'm saying? A person can only behave that way if covert emotional incest is in action. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day, and maybe I don't have to, because I've noticed in my algorithm for Google, it appears that someone's paying attention, because a lot of studies have been done in the last 6 months that are proving exactly everything that I'm saying. There was a study done about abandonment issues, and that most people who experience abandonment issues or an anxious attachment style have been ghosted. And I said that perpetuates the issue. I said it. So now they've done a study on it, and it is in fact true. So if you don't want to take my advice, that's fine, but just know science is improving as a result of this work, whether I've been publicly acknowledged or not. The studies are going on by the day. New studies are dropping every day. New studies about narcissism. I'm seeing them. They're coming up in my feed. So this one is about autism, and yeah, like I said, I had a plan on breaking down all the mental illnesses and stuff like that, but I think I'm just going to let the scientists do their job. I gave them the route to look. Light and love.